I just won the bid on this 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe Sport, and this is the first time I'm seeing this after purchasing it online. In today's episode, I bought this salvage SUV for only $3,600 to surprise my wife for her move-in gift, and I have exactly 10 days before she lands from Dubai. So let's explore this giant SUV and find out what I have gotten my hands into. As always, I always like to review the damage estimate, and for this car it shows about 10,700 Canadian dollars to repair the car overall, but I already have a budget set before I even bid on this car, so let's find out if I can stay below this target cost. Make sure to watch until the end of this video because I'm gonna attempt to completely transform this car, surpassing all the obstacles and challenges such as repairing the front frame for the first time and rebuilding the whole front end. Alright, let's pop the hood and inspect the damage. Although it mentioned run and drive for this salvage car, you see, before you buy a car online from these auction sites, there are only a handful certain things you can view online to make a decision whether or not you want to bid on a car. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. This is my third salvage rebuild, and I am ready to find out the hidden damages which are not really obvious on the online listing. From just a minute of preliminary analysis, it appears that the engine oil needs change, but it is up to the level, so I can presume that there is no oil leak, but I'm gonna verify that later. Obviously, the windshield washer reservoir is toast with the washer pump hanging onto its dear life. After making sure the car has sufficient engine oil and coolant, let's try turning it on. The battery seems to be dead from the freezing weather, so I'm gonna use my battery booster and try my luck again. And the car has turned on successfully. I'm gonna put the link in the description for my favorite Oxydo battery booster, and this little device has saved me several times in similar situations during the winter. Engine is running smooth without any rod knock or bearing sound, so I'm gonna take a walk around the car to see if everything is according to the listing. Luckily, I found the original Hyundai user manual in the car along with a bunch of other garbage, and to my surprise, I also found this treasure in the boot space, which probably belongs in those big blue bins. From the looks of it, at worst, I may end up finding some rodents, or at best, I may find some cash, so fingers crossed. I also noticed that the spare tire is also missing, so I'm gonna have to purchase that later. Fortunately, due to its run and drive condition, this car was not transported at any time using any forklift, as you may know they do in major auction facilities. So under the car, it looks great. And hey, look, free jerry can. I had no idea that the car had factory backup camera, so I'm guessing it also has a digital multimedia screen, probably no CarPlay because this is the base SE model. The interior could have seen better days, but it seems like the previous owners were able to successfully trash a 2018 SUV to this inhabitable condition. Also, there is a weird burning smell inside the car. It doesn't smell like tobacco or cigarettes, but it does smell funny. I'm a non-smoker, so I can only guess what makes clouds in this free world nowadays. The car has cruise control, all the steering wheel buttons, and heated seats, as well as heated steering wheel. Other than that, the car is in a decent shape with some detailing hours required. The driver's side master control switch and all the 4 windows are functional. However, because of the winter and snow, something that was not clear on the online auction listing is that the windshield is completely broken, so it will need to be replaced too. Fortunately, there is no check engine light or any other defect codes, so I should be able to drive this car out of the salvage yard. Alright, so this is the first ride. The car drives great and the suspension is smooth like butter. I'm not really familiar with newer cars, so for me, this 2018 SUV seems like a brand new car. Alright, the car is now home and I was able to drive the car all the way from the auction yard to my place. I also went ahead and replaced the battery with a 790 CCA, which is a higher cold cranking amperage and should never cause a problem in freezing winter. Now that the car starts up great, I always like to get the engine flushed and serviced with full synthetic engine oil before getting an inspection report for the full list of changes I need to make in order to pass the car for roadworthy inspection. One of the common problems with these new cars is that they come with 100 different assemblies to make a complete bumper, and the dealership charges a huge amount with a long wait time for each and every component, so I went ahead and ordered this used bumper I found online for a fraction of the cost, and they were nice enough to offer me a free front rebar and free shipping along with the whole LED fog light assembly. So I'm really happy that I found this whole setup for only 1,200 Canadian dollars as compared to the almost $5,000 quotation I received from the dealership. Dealership quotation also had each and every plastic pieces on the bumper separately listed with a price tag on it. I'm happy that this used bumper fits absolutely perfectly. It is as if the bumper had my name written all over it. I'm happy with the fitment, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove it and review the inspection report to address all of the problems that I need to fix. The inspection report showed 5 major defects that I need to fix, such as the windshield, emergency brake paddle cover, radiator support frame, replacing all the tires, and finally replacing all the brakes. Some things which are not mentioned are the minor ones, and that is the windshield washer reservoir and the front inner fender liners, as well as the small plastic panel that covers the radiator support. So in today's episode, I'm gonna first change the radiator support and then move on to the other issues on the list. Alright, it is the third day and I already went ahead and ordered most of the parts ahead of time, so they're all here ready for this rebuild. The main collision was on the passenger side, and that impact broke the windshield washer reservoir. But luckily the passenger side headlamp did not have any cracks or damage, but due to the extent of the impact, the rebar compressed and broke the radiator support frame behind it. And these Hyundais usually has its radiator support as a fiber and metal composite, which is irreparable and would have to be replaced. The passenger side fender is also bent inwards, and I need to put in some work to pull it out and make it square with the bumper. So now I'm going to disconnect the battery completely and keep it idle for about an hour, because I will be removing the airbag sensors from the radiator support and I don't want any signal in them. And after a while, I can start removing everything from the front. And here's the catch. The objective here is that I want to be able to execute the whole radiator support replacement without removing the actual radiator or losing any coolant or AC refrigerant. So I'm going to try my best to remove everything from the broken radiator support and put them back on the new one. If you ever want to guess the previous owner's maintenance capacity, you can try pulling out the engine air filter, and if it looks like this air filter, you can make some really good assumptions. I checked the VIN history of this SUV and there were no other accidents other than this first and only total loss collision, and this occurred way back in the end of November last year. So I'm guessing this SUV has been sitting in yards for a couple of months, and that explains the half-chewed engine air filter by some rodents, and I just hope at some point during this time they left the system of the car. Alright, I have removed all the wires and connectors that were attached to the broken radiator support, and I carefully unbolted the airbag sensors and taped them away from my work area. Now, I also noticed that the coolant reservoir hose comes on the way of the radiator support, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove this hose from here and try to clear my path in order to push the radiator through its support frame. At this point, the radiator is completely loose now because I removed all the radiator bushings. So I'm gonna go ahead and unbolt the rebar, but as soon as I do that, the whole thing might just come down. So I placed a small stool underneath it just to hold it in place. So now I should be able to remove the old frame and put in the new one in. Alright, the front rebar is out, and here is the damage on the radiator support. On the driver's side, it is intact, but on the passenger side, as you can see, the frame is in 2 pieces. Behind the old radiator support, I unbolted the AC condenser hoses and tucked them away so I don't accidentally damage them. The rebar also appears clean on the driver's side, but unfortunately, the passenger side is bent, so I'm going to try to hammer it back to shape if I can. Otherwise, luckily, if you remember, I also got a free rebar as part of the used bumper deal, so I'll just go ahead and bolt that in to save time. Now I can review the damage of the frame flange, and after removing the radiator support, I can hopefully straighten the flange out using a hammer or a plier. Alright, the radiator support is out successfully, but I had to take it out in 2 parts because of a stubborn bolt that wouldn't come out due to this free nut. So I had to forcefully remove the bolt by cutting a hole through the plastic engine cover, which is technically not a big deal because it will be securely bolted from the front and back, and this will also be hidden away. I do plan to replace the whole lower engine cover later at some point, but at this time, this is not a priority right now. This is the frame flange that got bent in the collision. Everything else is nice and square. I may be able to get this flange straightened out just by hammering it, but if not, I'm gonna heat this flange up and use a large plier to bring it back to shape. Once the flange is straight, I can bolt on the radiator support and the rebar back. I tried heating it and hammering it. It didn't work. So what I ended up doing is I took this huge plier that I had and put some tape around it so I don't get a lot of scratches. I heated up the surface here and I tried to bend it with a 90-degree bend so that all the force is converted to specifically this side here. So here's the spare ruler that I had, and if you see, if I keep it straight up here, it goes straight. This hole here and this hole here is completely straight and all these sides are straight. So that's the aim here. I want to be able to do the same thing here. So on the top, it is completely straight. If you can see from here on the side, it goes straight. And as you see, it starts deviating from this end onwards. And if I bring it here, obviously you can see that big gap. So that is how much I need to bring it out. I'm going to see if I can spray some kind of sandable primer here so that these scratches that went straight through the paint and primer gets filled up and there is no chance of rusting. Alright, so I think it is done. I tried my best to make it straight and this looks absolutely perfect. So if you can see, this is the line here and I do not see any gap between the two locations for the bolts. So as you can see from the top, there is no space. There's almost a bit space here. I might hammer it out, but it looks like it is almost done. So there's no more space on the top from here. If you can see, there's a bit of an angle here that I will probably straighten it out. So now I can go ahead and put the new rebar on this one. And before that, I'll go ahead and unpack the new radiator support and I'll start putting it on here. I can directly put it on to the frame so that I can put the radiator and directly start mounting things one by one. Look at that! I was able to maneuver my way around this radiator mouth here, this pointer bushing here. I was able to maneuver this radiator out and put it on the placeholders here. There are two bushings that needs to be placed here. I still haven't put it, so I'm gonna go ahead and put them first before I start tightening up stuff. Once it's in position and everything else is done and I don't need access to anything else behind with my hand, then I can go ahead and start bolting on with the new impact bar. Alright, the front rebar is successfully installed and as you can see, this is the new rebar that I got with my bumper. The fitment is all good, the bolts are all tight and I just have to go ahead and clean up this rust spot. On top of that, I'll just cover it up with a black sandable primer and this will protect it from any kind of rust in the future. Other than that, everything else looks good. The fitment is okay. As I said before, this fender is not proper. It has to be pulled out a bit. So as you can see, this is actually where the fender should be aligned. So this folded part and this bend right here should be straightened out and pulled in the front. Something I didn't show before is this door and the fender touches each other whenever I open the door. So that's why I tried to put protective masking tape here so that it doesn't scratch anymore. I'm gonna have to pull this fender a bit forward towards my side and I'll try to use the dent puller, pull it and line it up together so that I can put the new bumper as well as the headlights. Other than that, I'm just gonna go ahead and put the hood latch here. And very carefully, I also have to put the airbag sensors, which goes right here. And the other airbag sensor goes just underneath here. The parts from dealership has showed up. So this is the light side bumper bracket. So this goes on here, and these are the two connectors for the windshield washer reservoir, as you can see. So I had to buy them from the dealership, as well as I also got one of the bushing that was missing for one of the radiator stands. So this will just go underneath this. All right, check this out. The car is finally coming together. I have to put the plastic trim for the air intake and the box back along with the battery, but before that I have to also put in the block heater. So this car had a block heater before, and I found the block heater separately inside the car, so I had to go and purchase a new block heater cord. I am really happy with the progress of the car so far. The new reservoir box is also in. All right, it is a new day, and today we have on the agenda to straighten out this fender right here and kind of match it up with this hole right here. So this bolt hole has to be aligned with this one. That means it is pushed inwards and upwards. So I'm just gonna have to make sure that I adjust this and try to pull the fender out as much as possible. And as you remember, the fender also touches the door, which is why I need to pull the fender a bit forward, as you can see. Alright, so the fender is almost straight. So as you can see here, these are some of the spots that is from the plier that I used, and I'm gonna have to body fill this up, and obviously because of these prior scratches, so I anyways have to paint this complete section until here and then probably feather out the rest of the fender. Alright, the headlights are all fitted in and now it looks almost complete. I do have a bit of a problem here. As you can see, when I tried to straighten this out, it left a huge gap here. So what I have to do is I have to kind of pull this side of the fender outwards so it matches the line of the headlight. So if you can see from the side here, so the headlight goes here. There's a small jump right here. All right, I have not tested out the hood latch yet. I went ahead and I fixed everything up here, but I never tested the hood latch. So I'm gonna go ahead and test that out right now. All right, the hood latch is perfectly fine. But something I noticed is when I close the hood here, I can see that everything lines up here except for this fender. So as you can see, this is lined perfectly with the body here, with the A-pillar here, but the fender is gone inwards. Alright, so here are the windshield washer reservoir plugs that were broken. So here's one with two connectors here, negative and positive. The black one is the ground, and the other set of wires, which has 3 wires coming out from them. So I assume the black one is gonna be the ground. So I had to go and buy these plugs from the dealership. So I'm gonna go ahead and test fit these plugs before I start connecting these wires. So the first one is this one. If the orientation is correct, it should fit right in. There you go. So this fits right in and should go with the 2 wires right here. And the other one is this one. It should have 3 wires. There you go. So it's set right on. Now the only problem is the wires from the dealership came in with the same color. So I'm gonna have to figure out which one is the negative and which one is the positive, as well as find out the wires for this one too. There you go. So everything looks like it is working. Everything now looks like it's working. Windshield wipers are also good, and windshield washer reservoir is completely fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and tuck these in with some zip ties and make sure it's all waterproof, and then I can move on to installing the bumper. Alright guys, check this out. I am super happy with the result. The bumper fits amazing. Check the gaps here. It looks completely fine. And I'm happy with the fitment. I'm only waiting for the grill. After the grill comes, the front end will be completed. I cannot explain how satisfied I am right now. The bumper is already in mint condition, and I'm gonna paint up this fender along with some portion of the hood here. I noticed that this side was also not in shape, so I had to pull it out a bit, which I'm gonna body fill and make it perfect before I paint it up along with the bumper. And I am super happy with the result. I cannot wait to show you guys the final product. When I bought the car, I knew there was gonna be some work to be done on the car, but it was all worth it. And the only thing left right now from the appearance of it is the front trim cover. Also, this is the first time I'm seeing it. I haven't opened any of these items yet. So this is the product that goes on the cover here. So it should perfectly sit right here, and there you go. Awesome. Look at that. The car looks very much completed now, except for the grille. So I'm gonna go ahead and start bolting this all together so that it's all intact and completed. And after that, let's see what it looks like. Check this out. It looks amazing. And I'm also actually grateful that this build came up so perfectly. The only thing remaining is just the paint work. And the front, the grille is on the way along with this logo. So looking at the inspection report, the chassis and the framework is completed. Radiator support is installed along with all the other parts in the front. The next thing on the agenda is to install the front and rear brakes. And while I install the brakes, I'm also gonna go ahead and install the new fender liner. As you can see, the fender liner is broken on the driver's side as well as the passenger side. And as obviously you've noticed, the tires are almost bald. So I'm gonna have to replace all the 4 tires too in order to pass the inspection. So the windshield is toast. I'm gonna have to throw this away and put a new windshield. I'm gonna go ahead and do it by a professional. It's gonna be cheaper and way efficient to do it that way. And I don't have time in my hand. So just a few more days before I can complete this car.
In today's agenda, all 4 brake pads and tires has to be changed. Luckily, the measurements for the brake rotors are good, so I don't have to change them today. I'm gonna go ahead and install these Raybestos ceramic brakes. The fronts are on the top and below are the rear brakes. This kit comes with its hardware, and these are ceramic brakes, so there shouldn't be any squeaking sounds. So let's begin the process.
So before I move on with the brake pad installation on the other 3 wheels, I'm gonna go ahead and change the inner liner of the fender. As you can see, this is completely broken. I'm gonna have to take this apart and install a new one. Alright, the fender liner looks amazing. It looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm really happy with the results. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and install the wheels back and close this off. Alright, so brake replacement has been done for all the 4 wheels. So now it's time to change the tires. So these are nice 17 inches brand new tires. I've got 4 of them, one's at the back, and now it's time to replace them. The mobile tire replacement guy is gonna be here in 5 minutes, and I'm gonna let him do the tire change so I can save on some time. Alright, tires are all replaced now. All the 4 tires looks brand new and they're all good to go. So these are way safer than before.
Currently, the car is in a miserable condition, and I think the previous owners never took this SUV to a proper wash since their purchase. So I'm gonna wear my gloves and start cleaning the car, and as soon as I'm done with the large garbage, I can start vacuuming and steam cleaning. The objective now is to detail the car to a clean condition, so let's get to work.
Check this out, the interior looks so much better compared to before. I am happy with the results, so now let's move to the next. Alright, the car is coming together and the only major thing remaining is the broken windshield that needs to be changed. I have an appointment tomorrow to get it done. So now before I put in the battery and the engine air intake box, I need to install this Hyundai block heater that was removed from the car, and this is its original OEM cable that needs to be extended from inside, and it just hangs out from one of these lower grills, and I'll figure that out later at some point. And after I'm done installing the block heater, I can go ahead and install the engine air filter and the cabin air filter. Alright, so this block heater sits inside this area here. As you can see, there is some debris right here, the white ones on that hose right there. So that area is where I'm gonna have to install the block heater. This hole right here, that's where the block heater should sit. If I just slide it in, it should just sit in properly. But for now, I'm not gonna push it in much before I put in some dielectric grease. So I'm gonna use this dielectric grease to grease up the surface of this block heater so that it doesn't have any resistivity to conduct heat to the engine block, because the whole purpose of this small device is to keep the engine block warm enough so that the oil and the lubricant inside don't end up freezing in minus 40 degrees Celsius temperature during the winters. All right, I think that is good enough, and I'm just gonna go ahead and mix it thoroughly so that it's all over the place. There you go. Before I insert this in, I want to go ahead and plug the cable so that I can navigate the wire internally. All right, the block heater wire is installed now. So I'm just gonna finalize the location of the wire. That should ideally go behind the battery from here. I'm gonna zip tie it securely and stick out this end of the plug underneath the lower grill of the bumper. And before that, because this is an electrical item, I need to ground this. Here is the wire from the previously grounded block heater. So I'm just gonna remove this wire from here. And this is a good grounding position because it's connected to a metal of the car, and this should be good for grounding. I'm just going to remove this one and replace it with the new one. All right, so block heater wire is done. I'm going to figure out where to relocate the wire behind the battery after I install the battery, obviously. So now I'm going to go ahead and clean this air box that I took off from the car in the beginning. So I'm just going to give this a quick wash so I can clean this up before I install it. Alright, air intake box is now installed, and this was the air filter the car had before. It was eaten completely by rodents, and there is no way I could continue using this anymore. It would be very harmful for the engine because it would block the airflow. So I'm going to throw this out and install this new one. Alright boys, moment of truth. I'm gonna go ahead and connect the negative terminal of the battery. I also did have to disconnect the airbag sensor and then put it back in, so I'm kind of nervous. Let's go ahead and connect the negative battery and try to turn on the car and see if there are any check engine light or any kind of errors. Bismillah. It's a cold start, so RPM looks normal. There's no check engine light for now, so I hope, fingers crossed, this stays the same. Let's go to the front and see if there's any kind of smoke from anywhere for whatever reason. There shouldn't be, but I just want to make sure that there isn't. And check this out. This is my first time seeing the fog lights working. Alright, so the RPM came back to the normal operating temperature. Looking good so far. So all the LED lights work. The daytime running light on the headlamps work, as well as the one on the fog lights also work. And it will definitely look much better when I put on the new grille. Alright, now it's time to replace the cabin air filter. And to remove this tray, I have to unscrew these plastic tabs on both sides, and it should come out just like this. Here I can access the filter tray, and as expected, the filter is very dusty. Compare this dirty filter to the new MotoMaster filter, and look at the difference. Now I can put it back the same way I took it out, and that's how you change the cabin air filter on your new Santa Fe. I finally got the windshield replaced by a local shop, and it looks phenomenal. This is a laminated solar windshield, and it is as good as the factory ones. One of the things I need to do before prepping this car for paint is to body fill any dings and blemishes that might become evident in the new paint. If you remember, this side is clean and there is no problem or collision on this end. So all the lines match together and the gaps between the bonnet and the light is all aligned and perfect. But on the other side, the bumper and the bonnet still does not align. So I have to straighten this up and bring up the bumper a bit forward so that it aligns properly with the bumper here. As well, as you can see, this line goes straight from here, but it goes inwards towards here. So there is this bend. So I have to pull this upwards. So this side has to be pulled upwards a bit so that I can create a small gap here and also pull this line out. So that's one of the body works I'm gonna have to do. And the other body work would be here on this fender. So here, if you remember, I had to straighten this out too because of the main collision. So I'm just gonna push this fender from the inside outwards so that this fender aligns properly with the light here. And once it starts aligning, and I can follow the body line and come back right here, where this fender also has to come out a bit because I know that the bumper positioning is fine. So this fender was the one which I hammered in the beginning to get rid of this dent here. So which is why probably the fender went a bit inside. So I'm just gonna have to pull it outwards so that I can line up with this here. Other than that, there are a lot of deep scratches which cannot go even with polishing. And these scratches are deep enough that I can't just polish on top of them. So I need to scuff them and repaint these areas. So I'm gonna go ahead and mask all of the car on this end and just keep this work area empty so I can scuff them and paint the whole bumper along with this small section of the area where I'm gonna work. And I'm gonna try to feather out the rest of the paint because I don't wanna end up painting the whole front end of the car unnecessarily. Alright, I did some more repairs here. Now this area is much more straighter and it sits properly with the bumper and the headlights. And here I also tried my best to pull this fender out as you saw in the time lapse. As you can see, this is properly aligned and everything looks perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and start sanding these paint off and try to scuff this area evenly so that these scratches are disappeared. And also, as you can see, the bumper has a lot of scratches and blemishes that needs to be sanded away. So after I'm done scuffing all the places which needs attention, such as this one and these scratches, and similarly on the other side too, then I can go ahead and apply some body filler to make things smoother.
Alright, dry sanding is now done and this is what it looks like now. The next step is to wet sand this to make it smoother, starting from the driver's side fender and slowly moving towards the passenger side. This front section across the body line of the hood will also get wet sanded and prepped for paint. And it seems very smooth already and so far it looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and wet sand this now with a 400 grit wet sandpaper.
Alright, scuffing is now done and now I can go ahead and apply masking tape around the car so that I can protect all the areas I don't want to paint. For example, the hood will not be painted completely, only a section of the hood will be painted. So I'm going to have to mask the hood in a way that I can feather out some of this section here. So when I apply the spray paint, I apply directly towards the work area, not in a way that it goes inwards. So I'm just going to direct it downwards so that all the spray falls down this way, and whatever leftover paint atomizes and goes this way, which I'll try my best to feather out and mix with the OEM paint. So now I'm going to go ahead and mask the whole area to look from this to this. So I went ahead and masked the whole car to apply primer, and carefully I only exposed the areas where primer and paint has to be applied. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply some primer, but before that I'm going to wear my respirator mask to protect myself.
Now I can wipe the scuffed and masked surface with a static wipe, and the static wipe will make sure that all the dirt, dust and static is removed from the surface before I can apply primer, and this static wipe will be included in your paint kit. If you're like me who wants to do DIY paint job at home, there is no better paint option than Scratches Happen.
You may have previously also seen me use Scratches Happen products on my previous Honda CR-V salvage rebuild, and the results were outstanding. In today's episode, I'm going to use an aerosol complete paint kit by Scratches Happen. The process is very simple. You check your VIN and the paint code mentioned on your VIN plate. Then go to Scratches Happen website and input your car details. Their website has all the relevant information and the suggested paint kit for your DIY job, starting from chips or minor scratches to a complete paint kit for the perfect finish. Scratches Happen guarantees color match, and in case you have difficulty matching your metallic shade for whatever reason, you can always reach out to their customer service and get help almost immediately. In the complete paint kit by Scratches Happen, you will get primer, base coat, clear coat, masking tape, test cards, wet and dry sanding paper, tack cloth, painter's gloves, polish, as well as static wipes. Which means for your DIY paint job, you only have to put an order with Scratches Happen and they will take care of all the supplies. Scratches Happen has served over 1 million satisfied customers across US and Canada, and they take pride in their quality of paint. You can enjoy a 10% discount on your order using the code BillFixCars. Huge thanks to Scratches Happen for sponsoring to this episode. Now let's test the color match. Alright, it is the next day and the primer has dried, and as you notice that all the masking tapes are brand new, and that's because I wanted to make sure all the masking is done properly before I go ahead and start painting the car with the base coat color and clear coat. Now the car has completely dried with the primer, so I'm gonna go ahead and start dry sanding it with a 2000 grit sandpaper using just my hand and a small block. As you can see, the surface of the primer is very rough, so I need to sand them down to make sure all the roughness is gone away and it's completely smooth. And I'm gonna make sure I only do dry sanding because this is a waterborne paint. After dry sanding, I need to wipe off all the dust with the tack cloth, and after I scuff the surface up, I can then go ahead and start applying 2 to 3 medium to heavy coats of base coat. Alright, scuffing is now done, and as you can see, all the primer is sanded and feathered with the factory paint enough that when I run my fingers over this area, I will not know if there is a transition. This means now I can clean the whole area with a clean, lint-free tack cloth to get rid of the dust and nibs. And shortly after cleaning, I can start spraying the first light layer of the base coat. I'm gonna make sure the masking tape is good and remove excess tape if necessary. And this is so that the base coat settles properly and doesn't leave abnormal spots. This will help me prevent any extra work after the base coat. The base coat color mix I have today is from Scratches Happen, and the paint code is Hyundai TU7 that is made for this 2018 Santa Fe Sport. I'm gonna test the color match on a test card first before I spray on the car, and once I'm happy with the match, I can start putting 2 to 3 layers of medium heavy base coats. To test the paint, I'm gonna follow the Scratches Happen aerosol spray paint instructions, and you can download this for free on their website. First, shake the aerosol can for 1 to 3 minutes and then spray evenly on a test card. Wait for it to dry and apply a layer of clear coat. Something you should remember is that you can only try to color match after the clear coat has dried on the test card. Here is the test card after 2 layers of base coat and 1 layer of clear coat, and it's dry now, so I'm going to place it side by side under the line to see the different angles and shades. And something you should note is that fresh metallic paint will always have a slight shade difference, and that is due to the fact that the old paint may be faded or hasn't been polished recently. And the best way to test a color match is usually under sunlight. But for now, I'm happy with the color match, so I'm going to start spraying the first layer of the base coat. Alright, it is the next day and the paint is completely dry. Check out the color, it looks amazing. Yesterday the wet paint seemed to have a slightly different shade, but look at this. Today the paint has dried and matured to a perfect color match. Here the matte portion is the new paint, and as I move to the right, the reflection is the old paint. As you can see, the paint match is exactly on point, and I am super happy with the results. So this means I can now start applying the first layer of clear coat. For the clear coat, the first layer will be a light coat, so I can create a foundation for the second layer, followed by the third or maybe even the fourth layer of clear coat. And once the clear coat is dried, I can go ahead and polish it after 36 to 72 hours. Today I'll be using the 1K clear coat provided in the Scratches Have Been paint kit, and I've used this product in the past, and this 1K clear coat brings great thickness and shine, so let's start applying the coats. Alright, it is a couple of days after I finished the painting for the front end, and look how beautiful it turned out. So this is the OEM color here. It's a bit dusty, but you get the idea. So this is the color, and this is the new color. Obviously the new paint is gonna be without any blemishes like the old paint here, but after I polish the bumper as well as the bonnet here, it's gonna look like one piece. The manufacturer instruction said that I had to wait for 72 hours before I could go ahead and polish the bumper, and by the time I was waiting for 72 hours to complete, I went ahead and took the car for inspection, and this car did not pass. And the reason is because I had this radiator support installed in the car, which is what you saw in the video. And when I went for inspection, apparently it turns out that this specific piece is not CAPA certified. So it depends on which region you are. For Canada, it has to be a CAPA certified product. For US, it probably has to be some other certification. And the weird dilemma is, because it was my first time installing such a critical structural integrity part in the car, I didn't know where to purchase it from, and I asked the inspector if he could recommend me a place where I can purchase this from. So I took the suggestion from the inspection guy, and I went ahead and purchased this radiator support from the place where he recommended. And after I got this product, the same inspector told me that he cannot pass my car because it has no CAPA certification. So because my hands were tied, I had to go ahead and get the new radiator support from the dealership, and I just installed it behind the camera. So this obviously looks exactly the same as that one. This one has a CAPA certification, that one doesn't. To be honest, I cannot tell the difference between them, but hey, it is what it is. This one is certified and that is not. And I just installed it behind the camera. And here is the reference part number if you guys are interested. So this is the part number for the radiator support if you guys want to go ahead and purchase. This came from Hyundai, genuine part. And to be honest, this is 3 times more expensive than the economy option. And I guess it's my fault. I should have checked around and asked the right questions. But I'm going to take this as a learning experience. And next time I need to install something which is the critical structure component, I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's all certified and make sure I buy it from the right place. Alright, the car is now almost in one piece, and I still don't have my grill. The grill is still on the way. I'm going to go ahead and give the car a quick clean on the front end so I can start scuffing up the front bumper, both the front fenders as well as the hood. And after I'm done scuffing and drying it up, I'm going to go ahead and start masking off panels that I don't want to polish, and then I can go ahead and start polishing. So now I can see my reflection of my hand on the OEM body panel here. So that's the idea. I want to get the same reflection quality on this area where I painted, and this should also continue overall and look like a mirror finish. Alright, the car is now completely scuffed and masked, so now I can go ahead and use my favorite polish. So I'm going to go ahead with the Meguiar's 105 and then use my soft pad on the rotary to start polishing with the first stage and probably even second stage. Alright, the car looks absolutely amazing. Look at the shine. It is not perfect. I know you can see some swirls and twirls here and there, but it is still way better than what it looked like. I'm happy with the results. Finally, the grille is here, just in time. So I'm gonna go ahead and test fit this on the bumper, and it should be a drop-in fitment. So now I can finally start clipping and screwing this in. Alright, the grille finally makes the car looks phenomenal, and it fit perfectly. And for the last piece of the puzzle, I made a quick run to the Hyundai dealership and found one last unit in stock for this Hyundai logo, and this should be an easy install with just 2 screws behind it. There you go guys, this completes my 2018 salvage Santa Fe rebuild just in time before my wife arrives tomorrow in Canada. I am super happy with the results so far, and in the next episode I will discuss the total cost breakdown of this build. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you on the next one.